In the heart of an ancient land, there was a valley where the sun never set and shadows never fell. Towering above the valley stood two massive statues, identical in every way, their faces stern and unyielding. These were the twin guardians, Elios, the bringer of light, and Archon, the keeper of shadows. Legends told of their eternal duty to maintain balance in the world. At the base of the statues, villagers from every corner of the realm gathered. They had come seeking answers, for the world had begun to fracture. Crops failed, rivers dried up, and the stars themselves seemed dimmer. The sun hung heavy in the sky, too bright and oppressive, as if the balance had been broken. In the crowd stood a young man named Kaedin, a reluctant traveler chosen by his village to petition the guardians. Kaedin carried no sword or shield, only a scroll with the plea of his people and a heart filled with uncertainty. As Kaedin stepped forward, the ground beneath the statues trembled, and a voice boomed across the valley. It was Elios, his voice warm, yet commanding. "Who dares approach the guardians of balance?" Kaedin hesitated, then bowed deeply. "I am Kaedin of Oris, a humble villager. The balance of the world is crumbling. We seek your guidance to restore it." Archon's voice followed, deep and cold, like the wind through a hollow cave. "Guidance comes with a price. Do you have the courage to face the trial of the guardians?" The crowd murmured nervously. Kaedin glanced back at his people, their faces etched with desperation. Turning back to the statues, he nodded. "I accept your trial." The valley darkened as Archon's eyes glowed faintly. To restore balance, you must embrace the shadow within. Enter the cavern of reflection and face what you fear most. The crowd parted as an ancient door opened at the base of Archon's statue. Kaedin stepped inside, the air heavy with silence. In the darkness, shapes began to form, figures from his past, his failures, his regrets. He saw his younger self walking away from his family during their hardest days, consumed by his own ambition. A voice echoed in the cavern. "You fled when they needed you most. Do you deserve to carry their hopes now?" Tears welled in Kaedin's eyes, but he stepped forward. "I made mistakes, but I've returned to make things right." The shadows dissipated, and the path ahead lit with faint light. Kaedin emerged from the cavern, his resolve strengthened. Elios spoke as Kaedin returned. "You have faced the shadow. Now you must prove you can bear the weight of light." A beam of blinding sunlight descended from Elios's statue, forming a doorway of radiant energy. Kaedin entered, shielding his eyes from the overwhelming brilliance. Inside, he found himself surrounded by a golden field, perfect and serene. But as he walked, the light began to press down on him, growing heavier with every step. It wasn't just light, it was the weight of responsibility, the burden of hope placed on his shoulders by his people. A voice filled the air. "Will you falter under their expectations, or will you stand strong?" Kaedin gritted his teeth, pushing forward despite the crushing force. "I will not falter," he said, each step firmer than the last. As he reached the center of the field, the light softened, and he emerged back into the valley, his body trembling but unbroken. The valley fell silent as both Elios and Archon addressed Kaedin. "You have faced shadow and light, but balance is not about conquering one or the other. It is about harmony. Now you must choose which path to follow." Before Kaedin, two pedestals appeared, one bathed in golden light, the other cloaked in shadow. The crowd watched anxiously as Kaedin stepped forward. "I will choose neither," Kaedin declared. "The world does not need dominance of light or shadow. It needs both to thrive." The pedestals dissolved and the statues began to glow with a unified light. Elios and Archon spoke in unison. You have chosen wisely. Balance is not in the extremes, but in their unity. The valley erupted in golden and silver light, spreading across the land. Rivers began to flow again, crops grew green and full, and the stars sparkled brightly in the night sky. The crowd cheered as Kaedin stood before the Guardians, now at peace. "Go forth," Archon said. "Carry this lesson to your people. And remember," added Elios, "balance is not a destination, but a journey." Kaedin bowed deeply before turning to his people, the weight of their hopes now a source of strength. As the villagers departed, the statues returned to their silent vigil. The sun shone gently and the shadows danced peacefully across the valley. And high above, the Guardians watched over the world, their lesson etched into the hearts of all who dared to seek their wisdom.